Hey everyone, it's TB Shores. I'm back. It has clicked over to June the 1st, 2017 at 12:36 a.m. Okay, I'm sorry about that last video cutting off so abruptly. I'm trying to pick up where that left off. What I was saying is what I feel the Lord is showing me, okay? And what I feel that the Lord is showing me is that Shavuot is the time for the first group to go. The first fruits, okay? They are the first fruits. They are those who are surrendered to the Lord. This is about setting in motion the harvest, okay? I know I've covered all these topics in past videos, and I know some of them may be hard to find because I have a few hundred videos, but I just with the topics that we have just discussed concerning what the Lord has shown me with Jesus and his disciples have until Shavuot is the what I believe the meaning the Lord wanted me to get out of what he spoke to me. Let me see if I can get to that video right here. Jesus and his disciples have TO weeks, not TWO weeks. I'm sorry, you can't even see all that. I'm sorry. But anyway, it's about Jesus and his disciples having until Shavuot, because Shavuot means weeks, okay? And then how the Lord had shown me that I would arrive home at the last seven. And the last seven, as we look at the counting of the Omer, the last seven takes us to Shavuot once again. So that's twice the Lord pointed me to Shavuot. And we can see right here both times. Shavuot means weeks. It marks the completion of the 7 weeks. It was that last 7 that I arrived home, which is when Shavuot is celebrated. It's after the completion of the last 7, and the last 7 had completed, had rolled into position. It was about the reading on my mileage gauge on my car. And then there was what I spoke that my friend Lou, the Lord had told her about meeting her in the middle. And we have 3 major feasts, and the one in the middle is Shavuot. And then we discussed what my friend Barb had told me about a dream, and where the Lord spoke to her in the dream and said it will be over by June the 2nd. And we see, again, I'm going to show you, we see on this calendar that the 2nd is right here. It was spoke to her here. So right in the middle is Shavuot. So we're pointed back to Shavuot. Okay. Her phone call was a confirmation because I had asked the Lord, show me, if I'm understanding correctly, what you're showing me about Shavuot. And then she called and points me right back, smack dab on Shavuot. Now, what I was saying earlier was about it doesn't mean that come June the 2nd, everything's over. Yes, the Lord is pointing us to Shavuot, but where the problem comes about it happening on this calendar is that the calendars are wrong. The calendar that we go by here in the United States is wrong. Even the Jewish calendar is wrong. The calendar in which God goes by, we do not have access to, I guess is the plainest way to put that. But what we do have is the time frame that the Lord pointed us to, which is May 22nd through June 21st. And I truly do believe um, that it's within that time frame that the Lord is going to set his harvest into motion, because Shavuot is all about harvest. Let me just read to you a few things. Shavuot is also known, of course, it's as the Feast of Weeks, because that's where the word weeks comes from. Shavuot means weeks. It is known as, we also see Pentecost fall in that time frame. It is also known as the Feast of the First Fruits. And we are the first fruits. Those that are surrendered to the Lord. Keep in mind, though, like I said, this is about beginning a process of harvesting. Only those who are ready, just like with harvesting your fields, only that's ready will be harvested, and the rest will be harvested as it ripens. Okay, and it's about people's hearts being brought to that point of surrender. And as they come to that point of surrender, as they ripen for the Lord, then it will be time for them. We also know it as the Feast of Harvest, and it marks the end of the 7 weeks of the Passover barley harvest. And we know we've learned in the past, I did videos where the Lord had taught me that the bride is the barley, and the wheat is what comes in after the bride. The barley is harvested first. That's those who are ready. And the wheat comes afterwards. So, and this is exactly what Shavuot points to. It says it marks the end of 7 weeks of the Passover barley harvest. I'm reading from my notebook, just in case you're wondering where I'm getting this. Where I had just wrote down other known names of this feast time. But it marks the end of 7 weeks of the Passover barley harvest and begins the wheat. So it's all about the barley and the wheat, just like I've spoke of in past videos, and about those being ready. The first fruits, let me just look at first fruits. We've got scripture. I pulled it up, hopefully. The only ones I really want to focus on at this point is here where it says, "But now is Christ risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept." So what that tells us is Christ was the first fruits of those that were in the grave. Christ was the first fruits of the dead. We are the first fruits of the living, because we will be changed without having to see death. Okay? That is something special. I'm trying to see if there was another scripture that I wanted to point out. Right here, James 1:18. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. We are the first fruits of the living, and we will be birthed into that new spiritual body. We will be birthed just as we were birthed into the flesh. This will be reversed, and we will be birthed into that spiritual body, and that is the beginning of the coming of God's kingdom. And it all begins with the process of harvest, and that begins with the first fruits. There was some other scripture I wanted to show you. Here I just wanted to show you there's four verses in the King James Bible that speaks of the Feast of Weeks, which is Shabbat, the Feast of Weeks. I'm just letting you know that this is biblical. The weeks part of what the Lord spoke to me, if we understand what weeks means as in what the Lord spoke, it means Shabbat. It means that feast, okay? And this is biblical. You can look these up. Let's see. It seemed like there was some other. Oh, yes. I wanted to bring this up as well. Now, um, this is actually a video I did July 30th, 2015, called "A Trump is Sounding." And I had done another video entitled, I'm not sure what that was entitled, but it was on July 31st, 2014. And it was also about the word Trump, where the Lord had given me the word Trump. To make a long story short, who do we have as president of this country? Trump. When the Lord first brought this to me in July 31st, 2014, the word Trump. I had not connected it with Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form. I connected it with two scriptures in the Bible that have the word Trump in it. There's only two, and they both are speaking about his coming for us and transformation. So the Lord was pointing us to a marker in time with Trump. That's what I want to say here. So we're even there, okay? That's something else the Lord had spoke. We are there at this marker in time for Trump. And we see all these other things that the Lord has spoken that are pointing to Shavuot. To wrap this all up in a nutshell, I believe that the Lord is showing me that the time is Shavuot, for the harvest to begin, for him to take his first fruits and he will transform them and they will come back and help bring in the harvest. And I believe that's going to be set in motion sometime within this time frame the Lord has given us. That's within May and June. May and June is all about us understanding Shavuot. Here I have it written. Shavuot is the Hebrew word for weeks, just as the Lord had told me. Jesus and his disciples, those that follow him, those who are surrendered to him, they have until Shavuot. Now, the thing that I want us to remember is that on these calendars that we have, we see many things as dates. Let's see, let me pull that up. Excuse me, I didn't mean to pop my grandkids up there in your face. Let's just focus, okay, for a minute here. We see Shavuot on May 31st and June the 1st. What I believe the Lord is showing me is that Shavuot will fall within that time frame that he gave. The time frame that he gave me when I was trying to understand what he meant when he said over by a period of May 22nd. That's a time frame connected to May 22nd, which gave us, he led me to Gemini, which gives us a time frame of May 22nd to June 21st. I believe what the Lord is showing me is that during that time frame, Shavuot on his clock will take place. And then his harvest will begin with his first fruits being taken. I want you to take this to the Lord. I want you to pray over this. Certainly, I am human and I could make a mistake. But when I look at everything the Lord's been showing me, and this is just some of the things the Lord has shown me, I'm trying to condense it down into what's the most understandable. There's so many things more that I could cover, but I'm trying to keep it to a minimum. But take this to the Lord, because I think this time frame of May 22nd to June 21st is when the true Shavuot will fall. And the Lord is wanting us to be ready for that. I'm going to cut this off here. I love y'all. Bye-bye.